The Metal Gear Solid series has lasted 30 plus years, going on 40 soon, and I wanted to take some time to explain a very important topic that I don't think gets discussed enough in videos, and I wanted to dive into it in a different way to help you get some perspective about it. I myself needed to heal from this, as well as everyone else who's a true fan. If you're new to this series, I'm going to do my best to introduce you to this situation as cleanly as possible. So enjoy as we do. This is Metal Gear Explained, bringing you Hideo Kojima and Konami, the history, but mostly wanting to discuss how it all came to this now that we're getting remakes for the games. So here we go. We're going to start off in 1987. One of the first things that happened was Hideo Kojima got hired as a developer, and he wasn't necessarily a big time developer. He was literally just getting started, pretty much a new guy. He was studying film production, but they ended up using him to help out in the video game industry. So that was pretty cool. And basically he joined Konami in 86, and he definitely didn't want to be a video game guy, but he ended up doing that. And from there, he helped create what we know and love as Metal Gear. And that was the first stealth game. And he continued to go from there, from 1987 all the way to the 90s, making Metal Gear and Snatcher, two big games that he helped develop. And basically with Metal Gear, very unique genre, and then Snatcher, a traditional game, but something pretty cool. From the 90s to 94, he made Metal Gear 2 and Police Knots, again showcasing his skill and taking him to the next level. After that is when we got the very big explosion of games, which Metal Gear Solid was the greatest game he made at that time. This became a phenomenon, and it just blew up big time. This was when Konami, instead of him just being a regular staff member, turned him into the lead and allowed him to create his studio a couple years later. And so during that time, what you got to remember and understand is pretty much nobody in the 90s and 2000s were given this type of green light. They were not given what I'm about to showcase and explain to you guys. There was no developers basically with their names on the front of the games, in the games, and so much more. And Konami allowing Hideo Kojima this was a big deal. If you guys know me, I am somebody who admired Kojima's work. Like, for me, there's a Bible. Thank God for that. And then there's Metal Gear, who influenced me just as much to be a different man. And his imprint in the series is so big. We're going to just touch on that for a second here and showcase how deep this was. Konami was kind enough to allow him throughout the games. We're going to watch some of that evolution, allowing him to put his game within his game. Think about this. As you see right here, whether it's Police Knot, Snatcher, and all of the different games he was making, he would put them within the game. He would also put himself in the game. And he's done this endless amounts of times ever since Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Solid 2, 3. I mean, you can't name a game pretty much when Hideo Kojima was in it that he didn't find a way to put himself within the game. See, for example, you get a dog tag and it says Hideo Kojima if you take out Solid Snake. Very funny, very interesting. And then, of course, our buddy Mantis. You see the scene with him also displaying Hideo Kojima. Everything. I'm talking about all of these games. He's always been in there. Okay. And this is something that Konami didn't have to allow, but they allowed. They gave him all the power to do anything and everything he wants. And this is a very good thing. This is an amazing thing, first of all. And super interesting for me, because I became a fan of Hideo Kojima. And just like everybody else, when I was younger, I thought it was Hideo Kojima making the game, and it wasn't thousands of Konami staff and millions of their dollars. Since he was such in the forefront, it felt like, this is a game for and by him, but about him in many ways. All of these games kind of feature him and his themes, his messages, and so much more. And they correlate to his real life. And he would do things like placements. You can see him right here selling these glasses to consumers, pretty much placements in every game. And it's a little exaggerated, let's just be honest. But the point is, this is something Kojima himself thanked Konami for. And he basically, after leaving Konami, stated that, and I'm going to read exactly his words so we won't confuse it in a second, but he was basically praising them for allowing him and letting him be who he became in the industry. So this is something to think about, and to not confuse, let's just say, and to remember that they really did everything in their power to empower him. And this is important as the storyline goes, because there's not a lot of studios, developers, publishers that allow this type of behavior. And actually, the industry doesn't appreciate this. There's some developers and big name people who think that it's a little bit tacky to be putting yourself into the games. But Hideo Kojima does it in a way that I personally think it's amazing, and it's fun, it's funny, and it's just, whether it's a side mission, rescuing him in Ground Zeroes, or other things, it's very cool in my opinion. And so now I want to talk about Kojima's words himself. And we're going to basically just read off an interview that he had a couple years ago after leaving Konami, and 2017 to be exact. These are his words. What I'm grateful for Konami is for, I proposed something and I wanted to make, and they let me make it. Conversely, I wasn't bound by them saying you need to do this or that. Basically describing how any project that he would basically request to make, they would allow him to do, basically green lighting everything for him, never restricting him, and giving him all the resources, whether it's a budget or anything like that. He would always get the green light. Then he added saying, that was like that from them from the beginning all the way until the end. Because of that, I am the person I am today. And I hold on to these words. And the reason I hold on to this, for those that are new to all of these situations with Kojima and Konami, almost 40 years of him working with them, and he ended up leaving. And it was an ugly divorce, just like any divorce. It's emotional, it's difficult. But they gave him such a green light, okay? From going just as a worker all the way up into within the studio, having his own studio, becoming an executive for them while still being a developer, being able to put himself into all of the games, requesting whatever he wanted, all the crazy things that we see in the Metal Gear series, and having the biggest team, the biggest budgets. If you look at the games, they're pretty expensive. And so you look at all that and you'll say, wow, like Konami took care of him. They did the best they could given the situation. You got to give them props, and you got to give Kojima his flowers also. So this is where it all ended in 2015, and he stepped away to make his own games. And now he made Death Stranding, and we're at the point now where he's dropping Death Stranding 2, and he has 2 other games in the works. I do believe that they're going to be great games, and I do believe it's going to be interesting to see what they are. But I do think that Konami as well has the right to make their own games. And I recently talked about that and showcased exactly the easy ways that they can do it. And we talked about whether we're exploring spin-offs from Raiden, whether we're jumping into Solid Snake stories that we haven't heard about or seen, or we're going into Big Boss between all the games that he's had. There's definitely different ways to go, or you can just do a whole new thing. And personally, I do believe that one of you that are watching this can be the next Metal Gear creator of a video game. I do believe that we love the game enough. We know the imprint of what it needs to be. We're not there to copy the game, but we're there to make sure that the essence is still in the game from what they are presenting. And I wanted to kind of just go through some of the discussion about that and talk about the series for a moment here, about what it takes to make a Metal Gear game and why it was important for Konami to allow Kojima to put his imprint. When you watch these highlights of every one of those games, Kojima talked about his personal life. He talked about the journey for the players. You know, when you get to part 4 and Snake is old, that's about Kojima, and that's about the series. The series is getting old. And when you talk about Snake Eater, he's talking about how times change us and we eat our own tail. And that's the theme of my channel. If you look at the logo, these are things that are very true and very powerful that he's always discussed in the games and that I personally admire. And it's crazy to me to think about someone else making the game, you know, but I can picture myself. The passion I have, the dedication and determination of diving into his lore and his messages and his themes and the imprint that he's created is there. Now, the truth is the resources and the extra staff that he's used for all the ideas, because none of these ideas are all Kojima. You know, he's wrote a script, but he's had other writers help him fix it. He's come up with some ideas for the games, but he's had many of the developers give their ideas on what the game should be or shouldn't be. It's not like he didn't basically build that up by himself. It was all a team effort. And today's video is more hopefully helping you guys heal from, you know, him leaving, but being excited that it's possible. And I want you to share what you think should be possible. I shared one video yesterday. If you go to the channel, you'll see it's basically Venom versus Big Boss. And it's a cool storyline. I didn't go into detail on the script, but I just wanted to give you guys a general concept of what could be. And of course, there's other cool things that I've explored on the channel, but feel free to share yours and what you would like to see if the series gets new games instead of remakes. So that's my thoughts, and I would like to hear what you guys are thinking and feeling. Go check out the next video. It should be popping up on screen. I hope y'all enjoy. See you on the next one. Peace.